And this anxiety in the face of thinking, I have to ask you, because I read this brilliant essay you wrote that's just come out in the Research and Phenomenology on Heidegger and terrorism, where you had this, where you talk about terrorism not just abstractly, but also the real phenomenon that we know as terrorism, and relate the age of terror to this anxiety that we might have, that being has abandoned beings, and that there's something ultimately terrifying.
Right.
And what convinced me in your essay is that we don't acknowledge the extent to which we are terrified by the era to which we belong. Right. And I would say that it's because we are terrified that terrorists can actually successfully spawn terror in our psyches.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I would add to that is that the effect of terrorism isn't in the actual bombings or the destructions that take place, but in the threat. What terrorism can be understood as an ontological issue, a matter of being, in the sense that everything is a potential target. Everything and everyone could be the victim of the next terrorist attack. And that's very hard to wrap your head around. And to do so requires no longer thinking of ourselves as separate beings that would then be destroyed by some outside force that would fall upon them or not fall upon them, but instead it changes the very nature of being itself, insofar as things now exist as terrorized, which is to say that the threat of their destruction is constitutive of how they are. And they're no longer stable, objective presences.
Things exist as terrorized. That's really a beautiful way to understand what Heidegger would call, the abandonment of being by of the world. No.
Yeah. I think the terrorism gives us an opportunity to think, to think being as no longer discrete encapsulated entities, but as threatened, and as threatened, somehow unstable, destabilized, opened.
So since we only have just a couple of minutes left, do you think it's through awakening a sense of terror or a heightened awareness of the threat that hangs over the whole story, the whole world, that it's only through exasperating the terror that there can be the possibility of stepping outside of the frame of technicity and maybe finding a way to allow beings to reveal themselves in other modes than just as available for our own consumption?
Well, yes, I do, and that's hard to say, because on the one hand, it seems that things keep getting worse.
Yeah. It's obviously, we don't mean that we need terrorist bombs or anything. That's not the thing.
No.
We're not clearly. We're talking about attuning ourselves to this other sort of what Heidegger calls this anxiety in the face of thinking. No?
Right. Things get worse and worse, and things seem bleaker and bleaker. And I think for Heidegger, they can always get worse, and they can continue to get worse, and that's what's so disturbing. But because they can continue to get worse, there's always also this possibility that they're not yet completely annihilated. They're not yet completely destroyed. There's still a call to responsibility. And to find that, to be sensitive to our responsibilities in this age, is an uplifting thought, I think. And so within terrorism, within the destruction around us, there's still cause for
don't say hope. That's the wrong word.
Celebration.
Celebration, yeah. The famous line of Hölderlin that Heidegger is so fond of, there where the danger is, the saving power also grows. Yeah. That we have to hope that that's true, because we certainly have plenty of danger around us to deal with.
That's the nature of danger.
Yes. Well, Andrew, it's really been a pleasure to talk to you about Heidegger. We're going to talk about Heidegger a lot on this program, I imagine, if it continues into the future. So
I'll be listening.
yeah, you'll be listening and you'll be coming back, I hope.
Yeah, thank you.
So thanks again, and to all you listeners, this has been Entitled Opinions with Robert Harrison. If you want to know more about this program, we have a web page. Just log on to the homepage of the Stanford French and Italian department, and that will refer you to our homepage for Entitled Opinions, where you can also listen to previous programs online. We also podcast, believe it or not through the Stanford system, but just through the iTunes, so you can just log into iTunes and the music store and you'll find Entitled Opinions. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.